Hi everybody, welcome to the Baguette Investor channel for a new video. Today I want to talk about something I am working on for the last, 3 months, something like that. I've been really following the inflation narrative, and I want to teach you how to make an inflation-linked assets if you believe that inflation is going to keep moving up for the next year or so. If it does, well, inflation-linked assets are going to be going up. So if you want to speculate on them, you need a screener to find them. If you can find them with your regular screener, or if your regular screener works but you want a different way to confirm your bias, I'm going to teach you a screener, 3 kinds of screener that I think are quite useful. So let me open my notes and we're going to start right away. The first thing I want you to look at is the numbers of inflation. In the United States of America, they're close to 7%, so the inflation narrative is still very well priced in on many assets. So what you would be playing right now is more of a continuation than the start of inflation. Most assets linked to inflation have already performed crazy. They're in the top performing of 2020, 2021. Other thing I want to look at is the difference between growth and value. You can see that for the past month, I've been talking about growth and value. I've been talking about oil and gas. I've been talking about financials. You can see that with rates rising, there is more and more pressure on growth. Still, it's daily trend. Of course, the overall trend looks very bullish, but there might be signs that it's very interesting to take a look at inflation-linked assets. So if you want to do like me, you might be very interested into this. Last thing we're going to look at to confirm our bias and just set up a few things. I'm going to take a look at the US 10-year that has just reached a new high. It's now above the 1.7 mark, and I think it's reached the 1.8 mark. Very, very bullish pattern for the US 10-year. We don't know. We're going to see in the next weeks how it's going to play. But yeah, if you want to play the inflation narrative, you're going to check my screener. So the first thing with the screener, you usually might have your own screener with moving average. In this scenario, we're going to use a very simple moving average filter, and the other filters are going to be much more detailed. So first, very simple thing is you can screen on TradingView according to stock market. So you would tell yourself, well, what are the stock markets that have the highest number of companies that are likely to profit from inflation? Those countries would be the ones that, if you have a commodity-based inflation, it would be the countries that have the most commodities-linked companies. And to get a little understanding of this, you can take a look at the Msci Indexes, for example. So here I have the Msci USA that gives, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see the index by sector. So you can see in this index, there is only 10% financials that are going to profit from rising rates, and there are only 2.5% energy, 2.5% materials. So this is not the place you're gonna look at if you're looking at really performing inflation-based assets. If you look at MSCI Europe, you can scroll all the way down and you see sector weight. You're going to see that you have 15% financial, so that's pretty good for rising rates, but Eurozone rates are a little bit complicated, so we're not going to focus on that. You see you have 8% materials, 5% energy. So it's better than the US, but it's still not the best. According to me, the best places to look are Canada and Australia. So Canada, we're going to take a look at this, and you can see there is 37% financials, 13% energy, and 10% materials. For Australia, on the other hand, there is 35% financials, 18% materials, and whereas energy is there 3.34%. So what we're really looking at for Australia is financials and materials, but I'm going to focus more on materials. And for Canada, it's really energy and materials. So you would look at these stock markets, so the Canadian stock market and the Australian stock market, and that would give you an edge on inflation. Gives you, if you look at, for example, the Nasdaq stocks, you're going to get less inflation-linked stocks and more growth stocks than if you look at the Australian stock exchange or the Canadian stock exchange. So I'm going to run a very simple screener on the Canadian Stock Exchange, for example. So we're going to type in some EMAs. You're going to type in the EMA. We're going to make a very simple filter. We're going to take the 200-day. We want that to be below the 30-day, and we want the 30-day to be below the 10-day. Where is this? And we want the 10 to be below the last price. There you go. We are on the Canadian Stock Exchange. We're just going to filter only the exchange that are interesting to me, which is the TSX and the TSX Venture. TSX for the big companies, TSXV is for the small companies. CSE and NEO are, I believe, for very small growth companies, so it's really not what we're looking at. And first thing is that we're going to sort by yearly performance. So we're going to go there, and you're going to type in perf. That will give you some choices. So you scroll all the way down, click the yearly performance. There you go. That gives you the yearly performance. I'm going to remove these useless columns that you don't usually watch. I'm going to download the filter so it's recorded. And I'm going to sort by the most performing. And you can see that we're going to see which companies are actually the most performing. So we're not looking at these illiquid shit stocks. So if you can remove the penny stocks, you can tell the last price being above 1, that will remove the penny stocks. Maybe that's interesting to you. And there we're going to take a look at the stocks that are actually going up. So you can see there is no sector filter. This is just the best performing bullish stocks at the moment. You can see the first bullish stock is Emerita Resources, and it's a precious metals company. It's actually making copper, I believe, or something like that. Mineral properties located in Spain and Brazil. So this is a very commodity-linked company. You have Graphene Manufacturing Corp, at Salt, Prism Gold. You can see many value linked companies. Journey Energy, which is an oil stock. Petro Victory Energy Corporation. And Play Oil Corporation. So many oil stocks and value stocks. That's the first way to make this. So we're going to record our inflation screener. Again, this is just very simple. Simple screener. I hope you are understanding what I'm doing. If you don't, you can watch the previous tutorials to get a little more idea. If you want to get more precise, you can do this also on another country, which is Australia, which is right there in the Asia Pacific region. But to get even more precise, we can check only the sectors that are inflation linked. So we just look at financials, sector we input finance, we input minerals, energy and non-energy minerals. So energy minerals would be oil and gas and all of this, and non-energy minerals would be copper, silver, graphene, lithium, and all that stuff. And so we have financial minerals. Am I not forgetting anything? I believe I'm not forgetting anything. So this is going to be a value screener only for a value country. So this is going to be very, there is going to be a lot of matches. If you want to reduce the amount of matches, you can keep only the best performing. You can select with another indicator that you're more used to. For now, I'm using a very simple one because it's the class of asset that is more interesting than the actual screener. But this reduces actually the number of matches, and this gives you an idea of only the value companies that actually look good, and you can check all of them and see which one you like and play maybe the continuation. I don't know how you like to play your stocks, but this is a good possibility to see, for example, Obsidian Energy has a very crazy looking setup crazy looking setup on the weekly, and it's a oil and gas production company. If you want to get even more in the detail, you can go into industry in TradingView. So now we have sector, but we can actually remove the sector and go into industry. So for example, if we type oil, we can check only the pipelines, only the oil and gas production. I believe if you take aluminum, if some countries have their aluminum companies in their stock market, Canada doesn't, but for example in China there are a lot of aluminum companies. You can check that. You can also check steel. For example, we're going to check the steel companies. Well, none are bullish at the moment, but there is a very big company that is called ArcelorMittal, which is the biggest steel producer in the world that is labeled as steel. So if you check it either on the New York Stock Exchange or in Europe, you would find it. you can filter by, for example, precious metals. You can only check for gold and this kind of stuff. Can you check for copper? No, you can't check for copper. What is silver? Can you check for silver? No. What else could we check? I don't know. Gas? Is there gas specific? Yeah, you see gas distributors, for example. So if you have an idea on a very, very specific point of the market, you could check for this. You could also check for example, regional bank. There you go. When I'm thinking finance, you can check for regional bank in Canada and see if regional banks look good to you. I had never checked regional banks of Canada, but I don't know. You could check that. So that was my idea. You could play with this. This is just a little thing to introduce you to the inflation narrative. So yeah, if you believe the inflation rate is going to keep rising in the next years and you want to play inflation again, you can play the inflation rate trade and try to look for inflation-linked assets. That was my little thoughts for today. Hope you learned a few things. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Have a nice week.